Well, good afternoon, YouTubes. It's well, it was reasonably sunny. It's a bit cloudy now, but it's a reasonably sunny and dry sort of winter's afternoon. So I thought I'd get my new old steed out for the garage. You know, and give her a quick sort of shakedown run. So even the not so eagle-eyed amongst you will spot I'm not riding a Harley, and I'm definitely not riding a Himalayan. So I've had one of those sort of life events, you know, where I needed to raise some cash pretty quick. So this is the upshot. The Harley and the Himalayan had to go, and I duly sold them just before Christmas, and this is their replacement bike. Just negotiate this lady and her puppy. So what are we riding? This is a 1984 Kawasaki Z750 L4, which is the model that looks like the Eddie Lawson replica sort of Z1000 or Z1100R. So it's got all the looks, just not quite got the power. Because those sort of, you know, the Z1000Rs and the 1100Rs these days, they go for some real strong money. So this bike's got all the looks, makes the right noises, but it's just kind of lacking in the horsepower department slightly. But having said that, you know, it's a Z750, so it's based on the old GP Z750. You know, it's performance not too shabby really for an old bike, 35 years old now. And this is one that I managed to pick up, you know, a good old internet, eBay, from a dealer up in the Midlands, and got it delivered just before Christmas, and I've been fettling the old girl ever since. This old Kawasaki's, these are the bikes I kind of grew up with, so I know them quite well, doing all my own maintenance and all that kind of thing, so it's kind of, you know, nice to revisit some old territory. A lovely old 4-cylinder 8-valve engine, yeah, real nice, easy to work on. It's a real different kettle of fish after having the Harley. You know, it's everyone jokes about Harleys not having much power and everything, but maybe brake horsepower terms maybe they don't, but the torque, I really do miss that. You know, obviously I haven't got that with the 4-cylinder engine here, but it's got a lot more legs to it, and it doesn't quite vibrate as much, obviously. But done quite a bit of work to it over the winter, just to sort of satisfy myself really that the bike's all good. Gave the engine a good pull through, did all the valve clearances, which were a bit out, not too bad, and you know, it's on the old Kawasaki's, it's shim under the bucket, which for those who know, yeah, that's cams out every time. And then had all the carbs off, completely stripped them and rebuilt all them, give them a bench balance, got them back on the bike and ran it up, and they weren't too far out actually, just had to give them a little bit of a tweak just to get that, you know, sort of tick over just right. And then pulled all the back end of the bike off, the swinging arm and everything, just to check all the swinging arm bearings and the back wheel bearings, and they're all new. It's got new chain and sprockets. So, you know, there's a few coats of smooth right to get it looking good, and all back together. You know, at some point someone's really loved this bike, given it some really nice paint, and you know, obviously done a bit of work to it with the replacing all the bearings, etc. It's going to need a rear tyre fairly soon, but you know, it's all right for the next couple of months until the riding season gets underway. And one of the things that I have changed on it and is the exhaust. When it came with it, it had one of those horrible Motad Nita things on it, which just looked pants. So I've replaced that with a Delcovic pipe, which is sort of styled on the old sort of pipes you used to get for these bikes in the 80s, the Alphas and things like that. It's that kind of style, but it's all stainless steel. And I have to say, it sounds great, and the quality of the engineering, the TIG welding and everything on it is just first rate. It fitted without any kind of tweaks at all, went straight on, everything lined up, and you know, really well put together, good quality product, and it's made in this country, even better. So this is going to be my steed, you know, for the next few months at least, and I'm quite looking forward to it really. It's fallen back into the sort of Kawasaki sort of mould after having a Harley for a little while, and I have to say the bike's kind of growing on me already. I've not ridden it that far, only done a few hundred miles on it, just because it's, you know, middle of winter and it's the UK, so if it's not raining it's freezing cold or most of the time, but today's one of those exceptions. Got a nice bit of sun, and I need to do an errand into town to pick up a few bits, so I thought, why not, let's make the most of the bike, you know, while the roads are dry and everything, give it a bit of a shakedown. And it means you get to see a few of the roads, you know, around where I live, and enjoy the South Wiltshire countryside. It's funny actually, coming back to this bike after riding the Harley, where everything is, you know, performance-wise quite laid back. You know, the engine never felt like it was overstressed, even at, you know, sort of 80-90 miles an hour, which is pretty much as fast as you could ride it for any length of time, you know, without the fairing. Everything sounds quite busy on this bike, which I guess I'll get used to. You know, it's just having had that Harley for a while where you were loping along at 60 mile an hour at sort of like 2,000 revs, you know, and it being only 2 cylinders, and this being a 4, you know, at 60 you're up, you know, more than double those sort of engine RPMs. Just sounds a little bit busy. But it's nice to be back in the saddle with the Kawasaki. It's funny actually, they seem to sort of get under your skin. But now I sold an old Z550 and a Z650 to get the money up to buy the Harley, and now I find myself kind of hankering after them again now. Funny, but yeah, so they obviously do get under your skin. There's something about these Kawasaki's of that sort of 1980s, because I grew up with them, I guess. You know, they do kind of get under your skin a bit. Oh, listen to that. Oh, there's a Mini. Don't see many of them about these days. So that's the kind of car I cut my apprenticeship on. Minis and Metros and Allegros, makes you shudder. Oh. So I guess the next plans I got for the bike, just to give the brakes a good pull through. I mean, they're all working fine, they're not seized, but just to satisfy myself, I think I'll have them all pads out and just make sure everything's moving as it should. Give it a brake fluid change, and then we should be set for summer, notwithstanding a new back tyre probably. But let's hope, after all this COVID nonsense, that we have a nice long warm summer with not too much rain, or at least just enough to keep the gardeners happy, eh? So the village we're coming into now, is it village or town? The ancient capital of Wessex, I think, Wilton, which is the last town before Salisbury proper. So that was Wilton, and we just got a mile or so, although it says 3 miles, that's the centre of Salisbury. Got a mile or so to go, and then we're into the town. One thing I haven't got used to on this bike, although the Harley only had 5 gears, the Enfield only had 5 gears, I keep going for a 6 on this, and I think it's like I was saying earlier about how the engine feels quite buzzy after having that single cylinder Enfield and the V-twin Harley. I'm constantly going for a 6th gear. I know there's some guys, very cleverer guys than I have anyway, that managed to transplant a 6-speed box out of the 550 into a 750. I think that was on a Zephyr, but it's pretty much, you know, a very similar engine. I'm not quite sure if I can really be bothered to go to all that trouble, but it could definitely do, it feels like it could do with being geared up a bit. Feels quite busy, even at sort of 60-70 miles an hour. It's just sounds like the engine's like doing 1,000 revs more than it needs to, you know. So anyway, it looks like I put my camera in the wrong place down there, didn't it? I don't even know if I'm in the field of view. Well, you know, every day's a school day. We'll find out when we actually have a look at the footage. Need to get some new camera mounts anyway, I think. Since I've lost the one on the Harley, forgot to take it off when I sold it, and then did exactly the same with the Himalayan. Forgot to take the camera mounts off when I sold it, so I had to kind of scrape about in the bottom of the box of GoPro bits to try and find a mount that will fit. And I've had to kind of I don't think they were properly compatible, because I've had to kind of wedge it with some paper and a bit of plastic to stop it vibrating. But hopefully we'll get the footage. That's what we're after. Might not look too pretty. So this is the sprawling metropolis that is Salisbury.
this is where we're going. Euro Car Parts.
Take the long way home. So we came in along the A30 and we're going to take a dog leg back along the A36 to Warminster as soon as the sun's out. Like I said earlier, it doesn't happen very often in England. You've got to make the most of it. So the road I'm on now is the A36, which runs between, well, Salisbury and Warminster. I think this village is called South Moulton, I think, and there used to be a really good pub along here. I don't even know, well, I'm really hoping that the pubs managed to survive the, you know, the coronavirus lockdown, because they've all been shut for months. But there used to be a really good pub down here called the Ship, no, the Swan, Navigate by Pub, yeah, the Swan. What we got here? Oh, Bandit. Well worth a visit anyway, or it used to be. I haven't been there for several years. They used to do really good food, and I believe they used to have a pool table and a skittle alley, which is pretty unusual in a pub these days. So there it is. Oh, the Swan at Stowford. There we go. It is still going. Well, when COVID allows, it's still going. So there you go. That's us.